Hello and a very warm welcome. Thank you, Mamta and Pranavi, for joining in. And today is a very beautiful day because we are going to understand how to apply the seven phases of for connecting to the intention from this beautiful book, The Power of Intention. Let me quickly share the screen so that we can read together. Applying the seven phases for connecting to intention. Having been in a business of human development for most of my life, the question I most frequently hear is, how do I go about getting what I want? At this juncture of my life, as I sit here writing this book, my response is, if you become what you think about, and what you think about is getting what you want, you will stay in a state of wanting. Huh? If you become what you think about, and what you think about is getting what you want, then you will stay in the state of wanting. So, the answer to how to get what you want is to reframe the question to how do I go about getting what I intend to create? Hmm. My
Actually, where
answer,
it is this, Karishma?
sorry,
I mean, can you please give a liner or something like that to the paragraph because I'm trying to search, but
it is on page number 41.
okay. I'm like trying to read your screen, so yeah.
All right, so it is here. My answer to that question is in the
Got
remaining
it. Thank you.
of this chapter. But my short answer is this: you get what you intend to create by being in harmony with the power of intention, which is responsible for all the creation. Become just like intention, and you will co create all that you contemplate. When you become one with intention, you are transcending the ego mind and becoming the universal, all creative mind. John Randolph Prince writes a spiritual philosophy for the new world. Until you transcend the ego, you can do nothing but add to the insanity of the world. That statement should delight you rather than create despair, for it removes the burden from your shoulders. Until you transcend the ego, you can do nothing but add to the insanity of the world. Begin to remove that ego burden from your shoulders and reconnect to intention. When you lay your ego aside and return to that from which you originally emanated, you will begin to immediately see the power of intention working with, for, and through you in multitudes of ways. Here are those seven forces revisited to help you begin to make them a part of your life. Be creative. Being creative means trusting your own purpose and having an attitude of unbending intent in your daily thoughts and activities. Staying creative means giving form to your personal intentions. A way to start giving them form is to literally put them in writing. For instance, in my writing space here at on Meow, I have written out my intentions, and here are a few of them that states stare at me each day as I write. My intention is for all my activities to be directed by spirit. My intention is to love and radiate my love to my writing and any who might read these words. My intention is to trust in what comes through me and to be a vehicle of spirit, judging none of it. My intention is to recognize the spirit as my source and to detach from my ego. My intention is to do all that I can to elevate the collective consciousness to be more closely in rapport with the spirit of the originating supreme power of intention. To express your creativity and put your own intentions into the world of the manifest, I recommend that you practice japa, a technique first offered by the ancient Vedas. Japa meditation is the repetition of the sound of the names of the god while simultaneously focusing on what you intend to manifest. Wow. Repeating the sound within the name of God while asking for what you want generates creative energy to manifest your desires. And your desires are the movement of the universe mind within you. Now, you may be skeptical about the feasibility of such an undertaking. Well, I ask you to open yourself to this idea of japa as an expression of your creative link to intention. I won't describe the method in depth here because I have written about it in small book with an accompanying CD by Hay House called Getting in the Gap, making conscious contact with God through meditation. For now, just know that I consider meditating and practicing japa essential in the quest to realign yourself with the power of intention. The power is creation, and you need to be in your own unique state of creativity to collaborate with the power of intention. Meditation and japa are so surefire ways to do so. All right. Wow. This is good. I understand this. I understand the meditation part and the japa part. All the rest, basic, it has gone above my head. Now, the last these two words have stuck around with me because I understand the power of meditation. I understand the power of japa because we have spoken about it in the earlier chapter as well. How when we chant any names, initiations given by our gurus, or any kind of mantra jap, or any kind of, words that we recite again and again to get in connection with the Supreme is a beautiful way of getting connected because that is something. And now I know that that is actually the creativity, the creative power, right? So that is a creative part of power is something new to me. But yes, jap and meditation are I'm okay with them. I would love to hear from Pranavi. What do you have to share on this, Pranavi?
Mm, nothing much. What he's trying to tell directly or indirectly is to transcend from your boundary of thinking to infinity. And he's asking you to take a pure intention that you are connecting with the universal energies, and meditation and japa, or like, I mean, these are the few techniques to connect to the universe. And what he's trying to tell is like, if you get connected to your, the natural or nature energies, that energy works in multitude ways. Again, here multitude is it's again our behind our apprehension and comprehension. In the
Hmm.
sense, how it works, we seriously don't have an idea, but it works in lot of directions. If you are in the ego mindset, you are just stopping that, and you're not giving a proper direction to your own intention as well.
Hmm.
So he is consciously asking you to just move from that zone, transcend from that zone. And these are the two techniques. That is meditation and japa. That's what I understood.
That's very nicely explained, actually. Thank you, Pranavi.
Yeah.
And let's hear it from you, Mamta.
My opinion is concerned, again, I'm very much fond of, meditation and the japa. So I'm fully agree with it that whenever we get into that deep stage, but yes, if you ask me, so practically I have started experiencing all the kind of what kind of creativity comes into your life, probably since last year. Many of the ideas come up, whatever your problems are there, in case if it is going into your mind, you get the solutions of that. But provided your intention should be clear and you have to come up into a surrender and let go stage, only then you will come to experience all those things. Otherwise, like a baby, we will keep asking the questions, I guess.
Wonderful. While you were, talking about this is what came to my mind. When we do the meditation part, the I don't know which book we were reading. Vikas was very active in that book, and when we were talking about it, he shared that when you um before going to sleep, you are in your subconscious. You get into your subconscious. And normally, I have this habit before I go to sleep, I sit for meditation for at least 5 minutes because I like it that way. So, and while I meditate, I put a question in my, head. And then after that, I go off to sleep. And most of my questions are answered in that sleep through some kind of a dream or some kind of a vision. And now, what is happening there is because you're sleeping after doing some kind of a japa and meditation in collaboration, when you go to sleep, that keeps on repeating all night long in your head. And whatever is in your, subconscious mind, whatever you are thinking about along with it, you get the answers of it. And this here, he has also shared the author that when you are doing the japa and the meditation part, and if you want to manifest something, if you do it at that time, it is so much easier for you to manifest.
And one more interesting thing what he was telling was while doing japa or meditation, you should also be in touch with what intention you're trying to manifest.
Yes.
So it's like a combination which I never worked on it. It's like if I practice even Carnatic music also, I really feel the presence of the Krishna or Balaji or whoever while singing. But then in parallel with the intention, execution, and manifestation, I never worked out. Maybe this subtle idea would work out. I would try to implement it rather.
In fact, we have been always told that during meditation, we should the purpose of jap is that we stop thinking anything else,
Exactly.
right? So it is a little contradictory in that sense. But maybe before sitting into meditation, if you set an intention that, the hamari wali intention jo hoti hai, we set an intention that I want an answer to this question or I want to, manifest this in my life. And then you sit in meditation and do your japa. It will somewhere stay like humming in your being that I have spoken about it. Normally, when we sit for meditation or japa, we don't think about anything. We just sit and we align. We try to, be centered.
Yes.
All right. Let's go to be kind. A fundamental attribute of the supreme originating power is kindness. All that's manifested is brought here to thrive. It takes a kindly power to want what it creates to thrive and multiply. Were there not the case, then all that's created would be destroyed by the same power that created it. In order to reconnect to intention, you must be on the same kindness wavelength as intention itself. Make an effort to live in cheerful kindness. It is a much higher energy than sadness or malevolence. And it makes the manifestation of your desires possible. It's through giving that we receive. It's through act of kindness directed towards others that our immune systems are strengthened and even our serotonin levels increased. Low energy thoughts that weaken us falls in the realm of shame, anger, hatred, judgment, and fear. Each of these inner thoughts weaken us and inhibits us from attracting into our lives what we desire. If we become what we think about, and what we think about is what's wrong with the world, and how angry and ashamed and fearful we are, it stands to reason that we will act on those unkind thoughts and become what we are thinking about. When you think, feel, and act kindly, you give yourself the opportunity to be like the power of intention. When you are thinking and acting otherwise, you have left the field of intention, and you have assured yourself of feeling cheated by all creative spirit of intent. This is very beautifully said. And to make it very easy to understand, I would say that universal energies work wherein there is a win-win situation for all. It is impossible that you think good for yourself and you say that उस बंदे का बुरा होके मेरा ये अच्छा हो जाए and the universe is going to give it to you. It is impossible. What you need to do is भगवान उसको इतना, so for example you want to buy a property and you are saying I don't know what happens with this man, but I wish this man sells me his property and he moves out of here, does whatever he wants to do, but I want to stay in this property. Then it is not going to be manifested. If you say, may God bless him with a better house, may he enjoy the luxury of that house, may he settle well in that house, and may I get to live in this house as well, because I also wish to have this property, then it might work. You have to, when you think of kindness, it is more like, becoming neutral, asking for good for all, not only yourself, but everybody else. As much as it is important for us to be kind to ourselves, it is equally important that we are kind to the humankind around us. And whenever we go into the low frequency, these things, emotions, be it anger, jealousy, hatred, shame, anger, judgment, fear, that is why they are known as the lower realms, because it is taking us away from the divinity. As much as we are closer to divinity, we will be in the state of gratitude, in the state of love, in the state of abundance, in the state of, joy. And we will see everything coming our way as something good. In the other book that we were reading, The Courage to be Disliked, it was also mentioned there as well that, how we should start seeing each individual as our comrades, right? Nothing ever happens. If we trust the process of life, if we trust the creative powers of the universe, then we should understand that nothing, not so, no one at all ever enters into our life with any bad intention. Everything is happening in our favor. And if we operate through that energy, we will never be unkind to anybody. Kindness towards yourself. Before we go to kindness towards ourselves, let me, take your shares. Mamta, do you want to share anything?
I guess so. In this field, in every area, we have to be kind with others, right? Because whatever we do for others with a good intention, I guess it always come back to you. Like one such example is long back, I was sitting into my office, and what has happened is many of the people come there, and assuming that this is the other office, and I show them the path, you know. But at times when you are over occupied, तो आप क्या बोलोगे उनको कि ये वो ऑफिस नहीं है आप दूसरा देख लीजिए है ना you please check the actual address. So one day it has happened like this only, and I was just over the phone with someone else. So my friend, the other conversation, basically because I asked that person कि सर ऐसे ना हमारे पास दिन में बहुत सारे clients आ जा रहे हैं तो आप please check out the toll free number and speak to them wherever it is. I have no idea. And I sent it back. He guided me कि Mamta, look, today you have not helped that person. But let's assume your parents are going into a bank or maybe some other place and they seek some help. So if you are doing help over here, so maybe he will get the help over there. And that point was so good, and I adapted it to my life that from that particular day till today, I always try to show the path to other people.
Wow.
And I guess coaching has become a profession also.
That's beautiful. Pranavi, would you like to share anything?
Yeah, I have got a creative way of, answering to myself that if you wanted to be in union with the universal powers, you have to practice a certain attribute or the trait called as kindness. So, actually, to stay kind is a good thing. But then, if you get inside your heart and ask a question for yourself, what for me? It is for me only. Because if you stay kind to others, indirectly, you are treating yourself in a much kinder way. And this is the only route to connect back to the universal energies. So, I mean, I'm reframing to myself that if I stay kind to others, it's like I'm staying kind to myself, and that's the only way to connect. That's what that is what I understood from this.
That's a beautiful reflection. That's a beautiful reflection.
Yeah.
Kindness towards yourself. Think of yourself like this. There is a universal intelligence subsisting throughout nature, inherent in every one of its manifestations. You are one of those manifestations. You are a piece of this universal intelligence, a slice of God, if you will. Be good to God, since all that God created was good. Be good to yourself. You are God manifested. And that's reason enough to treat yourself kindly. Remind yourself that you want to be kind to yourself in all the choices that you make about your daily life. Treat yourself with kindness when you eat, exercise, play, work, love, and everything else. Treating yourself kindly will hasten your ability to connect with intention. All right. This we have already spoken about how, we all are the drop of ocean, how the rain is the part of the ocean, how the rivers are the part of ocean. Likewise, we all are also part of that God, the creator. And if we knew, if we knew that we are also a part of God, how would we treat ourselves? If some person comes to you and you know that he is somebody who is very close to God or your guru maybe, how beautifully do you treat that person? And हम तो सभी उनके प्यारे बच्चे हैं. We all are abundant kids of the abundant universe. We forget about that. And in fact, if we keep that thought in our mind, we will understand and know that others are also the kids of God only, and so am I. So we have to be kind and loving towards everybody. Kindness towards it's running. Kindness towards others. A basic tenet of getting along and being happy, as well as enlisting the assistance of others towards achieving all that you want to attract, is that people want to help you and do things for you. When you are kind to others, you receive kindness in return. A boss who is unkind, oh, oh, A boss who is unkind gets very less cooperation from his employees. Being unkind with children makes them want to get even rather than help you out. Kindness given is kindness returned. If you wish to connect to intention and become someone who achieves all of your objectives in life, you are going to need the assistance of multitude of folks. By practicing extending kindness everywhere, you will find support showing up in ways that you could never have predicted. This idea of extending kindness is particularly relevant in how you deal with people who are helpless, elderly, mentally challenged, poor, disabled, and so on. These people are all part of God's perfection. They, too, have a divine purpose. And since all of us are connected to each other through spirit, their purpose and intent is also connected to you. Here is a brief story that will touch you at the heart level. It suggests that those whom we meet who are less than able to care for themselves may have come here to teach us something about the perfection of intention. Read it and know that this kind of thinking, feeling, and behavior empowers you to connect to intention through matching its kindness with your own. Before we read the story, anybody wants to share anything? Mamta, do you want to share anything? Pranavi, do you want to share anything?
Nothing much, Karishma. That is what I've told you. Like if you're kind with the others, you're indirectly you'll know how to treat kind for yourself, and that's the only way to connect for the intention. That is what I felt even after listening to these lines.
Yeah. Yes. And I loved how we need to be even much more kinder to the people who are helpless, elderly, mentally challenged, poor, disabled, and so on. Reason is maybe they are so that we could learn how to be kind. We don't know कौन यहाँ पे क्या पर्पस सॉल्व करने आया we don't know. And maybe they are there just because God wanted us to be kinder. Let's read the story. In Brooklyn, New York, Chush is a school that caters to learning disabled children. Some children remain in Chush for their entire school career, while others can be mainstreamed into conventional schools. At a Chush fundraiser dinner, the father of the Chush child, Chush hai ki kya hai, I don't know, it is very, whatever, child delivered a speech that would never be forgotten by all who attended. After extolling the school and its after extolling the school and its dedicated staff, he cried out, "Where is the perfection in my son Shaya? Everything God done is done with perfection, but my child cannot understand things the other children do. My child cannot remember facts and figures as other children do. Where is God's perfection?" The audience was shocked by question, pained by the father's anguish, and stilled by the piercing query. I believe, the father answered, that when God brings a child like this into the world, the perfection that he seeks is in the way people react to this child. He then told the following story about his son Shaya. One afternoon, Shaya and his father walked past a park where some boys Shaya knew were playing baseball. Shaya asked, "Do you think they will let me play?" Shaya's father knew that his son was not at all athletic and that most boys would not want him to on their team. But Shaya's father understood that if his son was chosen to play, it would give him a sense of belonging. Shaya's father approached one of the boys on the field and asked if Shaya could play. The boy looked around for guidance from his teammates. Getting none, he took matters into his own hands and said, "We are losing by 6 runs, and the game is in the 8th inning. I guess he can be on our team, and we will try to put him up to bat in the 9th inning." Shaya's father was ecstatic as Shaya smiled broadly. Shaya was told to put on a glove and go out to play in center field. In the bottom of the 8th inning, Shaya's team scored a few runs but was still behind by 3. In the bottom of 9th inning, Shaya's team scored again and now had 2 outs and the bases loaded with the potential winning run on base. Shaya was scheduled to be up. Would the team actually let Shaya bat at this juncture and give away their chance to win the game? Surprisingly, Shaya was given the bat. Everyone knew that it was all but impossible because Shaya didn't even know how to hold the bat properly, let alone hit with it. However, as Shaya stepped up to the plate, the As Shaya stepped up to the plate, the pitcher moved a few steps to lob the ball in softly so Shaya could at least be able to make contact. The first pitch came in, and Shaya swung clumsily and missed. One of Shaya's teammates came up to Shaya, and together they held the bat and faced the pitcher, waiting for the next pitch. The pitcher again took a few steps forward to toss the ball softly towards Shaya. As the pitch came in, Shaya and his teammates swung the bat and together they hit a slow ground ball to the pitcher. The pitcher picked up the soft grounder and could easily have thrown the ball to the first baseman. Shaya would have been out and that would have ended the game. Instead, pitcher took the ball and threw it on a high arc to right field far beyond the reach of the first baseman. Everyone started yelling, "Shire, run to first, run to first." Never in his life had Shire run to first. He scampered down the baseline wide eyed and startled. By the time he reached the first base, the right fielder had the ball. He could have thrown the ball to the second base, who would tag out Shire, who was still running. But the right fielder understood that the pitcher's intention were, so he threw the ball high and far over the third baseman's head. Everyone yelled, "Run to second, run to second." Shire ran towards the second base as the runners ahead of him deliriously circled the base towards home. As Shire reached the second base, the opposing shortstop ran to him, turned him in the direction of the third base, and shouted, "Run to third." As Shire rounded third, the boys from the both teams ran behind him, screaming, "Shire, run home! Shire, run home!" Stepped on the home plate. And all 18 boys lifted him up on their shoulders and made him the hero, as he had just hit a grand slam and won the game for his team. That day, said the father softly with tears now rolling down his face, those 18 boys reached their level of God's perfection. If you don't feel a tug in your heart and a tear in your eye after reading this story, then it's unlikely that you will ever know the magic of connecting back to kindness of supreme, all originating source. Kindness towards all of life. How was the story for you before we go there? Could you imagine that how beautifully this perfection actually was played? Do I have you with me, Mamta and Pranavi?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the story in the realistic way. Actually, boys, they don't allow this kind of kid to, join in the games and make them play and all that. So instead, this boys behaved in a very beautiful way, and they gave that feeling of sense of belongingness and love to that kid. So that's again connecting back to the intention or to the God. That's the real perfection.
That's so beautiful. And that is such a kind way. Such a
Yeah.
kind. Mamta, do you want to share anything? I'm awake, rest, sleeping. Okay, maybe she can't speak. All right. Kindness towards all of life. In the ancient teachings of Patanjali, we are reminded that all living creatures are impacted dramatically by those who remain steadfast in the absence of thoughts of harm directed outward. Practice kindness towards all animals, tiny and huge. The entire kingdom of life on earth, such as the forest, the desert, the beaches, and all that has the essence of life pulsating within it. You can't reconnect to your source and know the power of intention in your life without the assistance of the environment. You are connected to this environment. Without gravity, you can't walk. Without the water, you can't live a day. Without the forest, the sky, the atmosphere, the vegetation, the minerals, all of it, your desire to manifest and reach intention is meaningless. Extend thoughts of kindness everywhere. Practice kindness towards earth by picking up a piece of litter that's on your path and say a silent prayer of gratitude for the existence of rain, the color of flowers, and even the paper you hold in your hand that was donated by a tree. The universe responds in kind to what you elect to radiate outward. If you say with kindness in your voice and in your heart, how may I serve you? The universe's response will be, how may I serve you as well? It's attractor energy. It's this spirit of cooperation with all of life that emerges from the essence of intention. And this spirit of kindness is one that must learn to match its connecting back to intentions is your desire. My daughter Soma has written from her experience about how small acts of kindness go a long way. I was getting off the turnpike one rainy afternoon and pulled up to the toll booth while fumbling through my purse. The woman smiled at me and said, "The car before you has paid your toll." I told her I was traveling alone and I extended my money. She replied, "Yes, the man instructed me to tell the next person who came to my booth to have a brighter day." That small act of kindness did give me a bright day. I felt so moved by someone I would never know. I began to wonder how I could brighten someone else's day. I called my best friend. I told her about my paid toll. She said she would never thought of doing that, but it was a great idea. She goes to the University of Kentucky and decided to pay for a person behind her every day on her way to school as she exits the toll road. I laughed at her sincerity. "You think I'm kidding?" she said. "But like you said, it's only 50 cents." As we hung up, I wondered if the man who paid my toll even fathomed that his thoughtfulness would travel to Kentucky. I had an opportunity to extend kindness at a supermarket one day when I had my cart filled on the top with the food that my roommate and I would share over the next 2 weeks. The woman behind me had an angsty toddler and not nearly as much in her cart as I had. I said to her, "Why don't you go first? You don't have as much as I do." The woman looked at me as if I had sprouted extra limbs or something. She replied, "Thank you so much. I haven't seen many people around here be thoughtful of another person. We have moved here from Virginia and are considering moving back because we are questioning whether this is the right place to raise our 3 children." Then she told me that she has about ready to get up and move back home, even though it would create a huge financial strain on her family. She said, "I would promise myself if I didn't see a sign by the end of today, I was going to demand that we move back to Virginia, and you are my sign." She thanked me, smiling as she left the store. I was flabbergasted, realizing that such a small gesture had impacted a whole family. The clerk said as she was checking me out, "You know what, girl? You just made my day." I walked out smiling, wondering how many people my act of kindness would affect. The other day, I was getting a breakfast sandwich and coffee and thought my coworker might like some donuts. The 4 guys I work with at the stables live in the little apartments at the front of the barn. None of them has a car, but they share a bike. I explained to them that the donuts were for them. The look of gratitude on each of their faces was rewarding in an immeasurable way. I haven't worked there all that long, and I think that those 12 small donuts helped break the ice a little bit. My small act of kindness turned into something huge as a week went on. We started looking out for one another more carefully and working as a team. Wow, that is the power of being kind. And that is how, things shift so beautifully when you are kind to somebody somewhere. The other day, a few days back, I was selling, right? I went to my cousin's place. Um, it is beautiful, yes, Mamta. And she was telling that she is going to, so we have a common guru and we have they have a center at Pusa Road. And she has taken up a seva, and that is of a fairy seva. And she was telling how the elderly people sit in the car, and when she drops them to the satsang ghar, they feel so happy, they feel so blessed, and they give so many blessings to her. And she's like, "Oh my God, this is so beautiful." And that is why I think it is said that you must go and do seva, because that is something that humbles us, that grounds us, that also gives us a sympathetic and empathetic heart for us to understand people more and be more kind. I think that's about it from my side. Anybody wants to share anything, please? I know Mamta won't be able to do, so let's hear it from you, Pranavi.
Yeah, in my community, I make a lot of friendship with oldies. And the only reason is I can learn a lot from them, and then I can also do this, small acts of kindness to them. Like 33 members are there in a kitty, and I'm the only youngster going with them.
Wow.
There, I would try to coordinate the food. I would try to coordinate the games and all that. And while leaving from that place, also, I would ask them that if there is anyone who is interested to come with me so that I can drop them at their doorstep. So they're very, very sweet people, and you can see the other dimension over there. Like if you make friendship with your own age group, no, uh, that will be a kind of sync. But then if you make friendship with this kind of old age, no, you get lot of wisdom from them.
Yes.
And they're so matured and they know the value of each and every act. So they shower a lot of blessings on me. Like one of the oldie was like she just wants to literally celebrate with me on her birthday. So I was invited specially to their house, and I was like, oh my god. But then she was so happy and her eyes were so moistened, At times I felt like, why I'm not this loving to the other person? I mean, maybe my actions are like that, but then their love and their care is totally different. So maybe when we go to that stage, we would also become like that. But lovely people. So
Phenomenal. I'm so glad that I have you here in this room. Uh, it's purely divine work, and kindness is one thing. So we have seen so many, there are so many people who keep on recording these kind of things as well. You will see them on the Facebook more often, that somebody is giving a silver coin or a gold coin and somebody is taking, somebody is not taking. People, if when you are kind to somebody, some people will, suspect you, why is this person being kind to me as well? That
yes,
is also a case, right?
yes,
But
yes,
we should understand that when we operate from the heart of kindness, from the that that divinity that we are seeking and we feel and we see in every human being, we will understand it. If somebody did not accept our kindness, maybe it was not for that person. Maybe it was for somebody else who needs it even more.
yes. True. Exactly.
All
Love.
right. We have something in the chat that Mamta is saying. It gives different kind of happiness. Absolutely true. It gives another level of kindness, and I think that is why I keep telling my kids कि एक साल में at least one should make a routine कि एक बार तो old age home चल के आते हैं, एक बार तो blind मतलब school होके आते हैं, एक बार orphanage होके आते हैं. There are two purposes that get solved. First, you become so grateful to Almighty for giving you everything, you know, that that makes our life so beautiful.
Yeah, when
How
I went to a government school, Karishma, never in my life I didn't know about the infrastructure of government school. I have an idea that the poor children would go and attend the class or school or whatever. But then, lively when I went, I just got goosebumps on my skin because I was so grateful to my parents. Right from a very early stage, they were so careful about the education system and how beautifully they have arranged so many things for me, and I'm so fortunate enough. So that was the first feeling when I went to a government school. And yeah, at the same time, there are also so many intelligent people in the classroom as well, but they don't have that furniture or the tables and benches to sit on, and they all sat on the floor. But then I just prayed to my master that whoever wants to shine, please give them a way to flourish and cherish their lives. So all wouldn't get a chance, no, Karishma. Like it all depends upon the fortune as well.
yes, absolutely.
So, yeah.
That is the easiest and the simplest way to become absolutely in gratitude and actually to humble yourself and to kindness can happen only when we are grateful firstly for whatever we have. We cannot be kind in any way. So how can we extend kindness? Monetary, physically, while our talks, we have to give something from ourselves when we are kind, right? And unless and until you are happy, you are grateful for having that thing for yourself, you cannot start giving it out. So it is, I believe it is so important that we are grateful every single day. We must write gratitude so that we feel so much fuller in ourselves that it is so much easier for us to give something to others, be kind to somebody else, be loving towards somebody, you know. All right. Anything before we close this session tonight? Last words.
Um, Recently, like when I go for walk in my community, I see so many servants. They give such a beautiful smile, and if I just extend my smile to them, they start expressing their problems, Karishma. Simply, I would just look into their eyes and I'll just ask the God to heal them in whatever way it is. In fact, I don't have any solutions, but then their pain or grief or whatever is there, I'll just allow them to vent out onto me, so that that is the only least thing I can do to them. So, yeah, I do that most of the times. And I don't know what my community people think about her, because this lady, she keeps on talking with the servants and she's moving here and there. But I don't think like that. I feel that they are also beautiful souls and they don't have any channel to, vent out. So I'll be absorbing in that case. I keep on consciously work on my masters or the universe, that they get the help, or at least I can give a shoulder to them to cry or whatever. So yeah, I mean, that is again like, I felt that that's also another act of kindness.
Yes,
In return, I'm not giving anything to them, but then I just
you're giving an ear. You're
that's it.
giving an ear.
That's it.
That's it. For them, it
Yeah.
is a lot. So even if we say a thank you to somebody, it may mean a lot to somebody who has never been thanked for anything.
Karishma, the other day, one of my friend, I took her and joined in a certain social group. As she has, I mean, she was in connect. I mean, she was in contact with a jeweler. Actually, through a jeweler, I entered into a kitty. And then my friend was like, she didn't get that order, Pranavi. She didn't get this order, Pranavi. I said, I don't know. I never gave any orders to her. I feel very grateful that she gave me a chance to join in her company. And my friend was like, Arre Duffer, she's making business out of you. I said, yes, absolutely. She's making a business from her point of view. But from my point of view, I've got a beautiful life and I've got so many friends around me. And I never gave any orders to her, nor I didn't give any gold orders to her as such. Because I don't want to see her in terms of business person. I just kept a channel to myself, treating that she's a beautiful woman and she gave a choice to me to join into her group. And this girl is like, why are you so gratitudinal gratitudinal to her? She's making business out of everything. I said, I don't want that view. From my side, I'm very happy that she gave me a choice to get into the company, because I have seen many other ladies also, Karishma, wherein they don't even give a chance to, I mean, they don't even allow us to get into their company, which is actually so mean and very bad. So this girl has given me that chance, and I'm grateful to her. So she was just thinking that you're crazy woman. You seriously don't think in a political view or something like that. Why should I see it? Why should I see it?
That
Yeah.
nobody can pull out anything out of you unless and until you wish to give them.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's absolutely okay if we surrender to the system. I'm sure that the least bad shall happen to us. Whatever you believe in is the exact reality that you're going to create. Now, if I believe that no soul comes to my room who whom I cannot serve, whom I cannot share anything with all my heart, I'm sure that person who is not ready to accept what I'm sharing won't come to my room.
Yes. True.
Your thoughts create your reality, your beliefs create your reality.
Exactly, Karishma. I can feel the depth of it.
All right,
Yeah.
my sweet little angels, my
Yeah.
lovable ones, have a good night's sleep and stay blessed, stay connected to that energy, that source, and have a blessed night. See you
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Good night to you as well.
Bye. Bye.
Bye bye, dearies. Bye bye.